Hey everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. Thanks for stopping by today. Today I have a very special project for you. It is a part of the Simon Says Stamp Reason to Smile blog hop, and I'm going to be using this adorable new stamp set. It's called Melody's Easter, and we're going to do a little stamp kissing today. So we're going to have our solid stamp and our background stamp, and they're sitting in a tree, and they're Kissing. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. So you can see I have my little egg stamp here. It's mounted on my clear block, and I have several different colors of ink here. I'm starting with the Simon Says Stamp Malibu ink. And now that I've stamped a couple of those just regular solid images, I'm going to do my stamp kissing. So I have some background stamps, and I've added a little bit of Versamark ink along the top of each of those background stamps. I just find I get a little bit better results when I do this. It kind of helps pull that ink away from the solid stamp. And the key to this is really all about pressure. So this isn't about pushing onto that background stamp. It is truly a kiss. So as you ink up in your regular color, you're going to kiss your solid image to the background image, and it's going to kind of take away the ink where it's pressed against that background stamp and leave you with a little bit of texture or pattern on your solid stamp. So it's all about kissing it to the background stamp and then kissing it to the paper. Too much pressure is going to not give you a really well-defined pattern on your solid stamp. So if you're having a little bit of issues with this technique, try using less pressure. So my second color there was the Hero Arts Pale Tomato, and now I'm coming in with the Hero Arts Butter Bar ink, and I'm doing the same technique again, inking up and then kissing it to the background stamp and then kissing it to the paper. Now, something I did want to mention about this technique is that you're not going to get super crisp, clear patterns onto this solid image. It's going to remove the ink, but that sometimes causes a little bit of hazing. It's not going to be as if you stamped this background stamp onto this image with a separate color of ink. So just keep that in mind, but it is a great way to add a little bit of texture and a little bit of interest to any solid stamps that you might have. So just keep that in mind as you're doing it, and I think you'll see what I mean in the pictures, but I still think it's a great result. So once I had all of my eggs stamped onto my Nina Solar White cardstock, I'm going to do a little bit of die cutting here. I've started out by cutting a wonky stitch circle from My Favorite Things, and now I'm going to use the coordinating dies for the Melody's Easter stamp set, and I'm going to cut out all of these little eggs. So I'm just positioning it over these stamped images and then just running it through my Big Shot machine. And then finally, I'm going to finish with this My Favorite Things homespun stitch lines, I believe it is. It is going to just add a little bit of faux stitching along the edge of my card front. And it's going to kind of tie in with that faux stitching that's around the circle that I die cut earlier. Now, once all of my die cutting was done, I went ahead and brought in my paper trimmer, and I'm going to trim down a couple of strips of pattern paper. This is from the My Favorite Things Calm and Cozy 6x6 chevron pattern paper, and this adorable mint and gold polka dot pattern paper is from the My Mind's Eye On Trend 2 collection, which I am having a great time with. So now it's time to go ahead and work on my sentiment piece here. I'm going to be doing a little white heat embossing on this vellum here. So I've gone ahead and prepped the surface with a little EK Success powder tool. And now I'm going to ink up this stamp greeting, which says greetings. And I'm going to stamp it in Versamark ink onto the bottom of my vellum. Now, one of the things I really like about this stamp set is that all of the greetings are actually separate so that you can combine them any way that you want. And if you're one of those who feels guilty or doesn't like to cut your stamps apart, this stamp set is great because they are all separate, so you don't have to feel bad about that. So once I've got my first stamped image onto the vellum, I realized that I couldn't see it to stamp the second one. So I went ahead and added my white embossing powder. I didn't heat set it, but I added my white embossing powder to that first stamped greeting. That just allowed me to be able to see that first stamped greeting so that I could nestle that word Easter right over it. I stamped that also in Versamark ink, added my super fine detail white embossing powder, and then I went ahead and heat set both of those at the same time and trimmed it down using my paper trimmer. Now I decided I wanted a little bit of dimension behind that circle that I die cut earlier, so I went ahead and used the same die to cut a piece of craft foam, and I'm just trimming it down a little bit around the edge and then adding it to the back of my die cut circle with a little bit of tape runner adhesive. And now I'm going to kind of start the assembly process here. So I'm just trimming down these pieces of pattern paper here, trimming them into angles and kind of banner ends. And then I'm going to start attaching them to my card front. So I'm just adding a little bit of tape runner adhesive behind this first piece here. And I'm just positioning it to the right of that little area of faux stitching that I created. And then I added this piece of mint and gold pattern paper right over the top and just kind of layered those up. Once I got them positioned onto my card front, then I went ahead and trimmed them down using my scissors. Now I decided I wanted to bring in a little bit more of that gold. So I've just trimmed down a piece of this Tim Holtz metallic cardstock and I'm attaching it to the bottom of that vellum piece that I embossed my greeting on earlier. And in order to attach this to my circle that I'm going to be layering up here, I'm just using a little bit of this Cool Tack clear foam and then a little bit of the regular 3M foam adhesive along the bottom where that piece of metallic cardstock can kind of hide it. And then I'm just trimming it down and then trimming it into a banner end along that left edge. And then I'll attach it to that circle that I die cut earlier. And I had taken about a 1/2 inch off the right side of that die cut circle. In order to attach this circle to my card front, I just used a little Be Creative tape on the back of that because it did have that fun foam on there and it's kind of hard to add tape runner adhesive to the fun foam. And I've just attached that along that right edge of the card front. And now it's time to arrange my adorable kissed Easter eggs on the front of my card. So I've trimmed down a few pieces of the 3M foam tape and I'm going to attach some of them using foam tape and some of them using a little bit of tape runner adhesive. And this is just going to give me a little bit of varying dimension and add a little bit more interest to this. So I'm just kind of arranging them how it seems pleasing to me. I've kind of brought them around and arranged them around that greeting that I created earlier. I had tried this with just kind of stamping it around the greeting, and I found that I had better luck by just stamping these all and die cutting them and arranging them after I had the sentiment already on the front of the card. So now I'm going to add a little bit more dimension to this card. I'm going to add some more fun foam behind this card front panel that I've created. And once I get the fun foam added to that, I am going to add this entire card front onto a mat of this pale rose cardstock. It's one of my favorites. It's from Basil. And then I went to attach this onto my card base. This is a top folding A2 card base. And I saw that my proportions were just kind of slightly off. So I could either trim down the card base, or I decided to just add a little bit more of that gold metallic cardstock right along that right edge. And it's going to bring the proportions of this kind of all together and just make this fit on that card front just right. So you knew I wasn't going to just leave it at that, right? I had to add a little bit of sparkle, so I'm just using some different sizes of the Pretty Pink Posh Sparkling Clear Sequins. I'm attaching them with a little bit of the Ranger Multi-Medium in the matte finish, and I've kind of tucked some of those behind some of the eggs and just kind of scattered them about just to add a little bit more sparkle to this card. So that completes my card for today. I hope you enjoyed seeing how these solid stamps and these background stamps could make a little magic, do a little kissing, and add a little bit of texture to those solid stamped images. As I mentioned before, this is a part of the Simon Says Stamp Reason to Smile blog hop, so be sure you head on over to my blog for more information on that as well as a giveaway. Thanks for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day.